Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We've provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have one episode of Pretty Little Liars for you this time.
Yep, just one. And boy, did I have to take a lot of notes.
I kind of wish we had done this one and the next one in the same episode, like the finale and the opener, because I think the next one would also, I don't know, we'll have to watch it and you'll have to decide if it should be a standalone episode or if you want to do episodes 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
A lot happens because I thought all of that happened in this episode.
And it does not.
And it does not. We're not even halfway through, like, the journey of the evening that we are currently watching.
Got it. So I'm assuming since this is literally just Alison telling them what in the hell happened.
Yeah.
Which is more clarifying points than, I mean, there's new stuff for sure, but it's like a lot of it we kind of already knew. So then is the second half, the fallout of jumping, or whoever that was, shooting Fitzs, jumping across the roof.
Well, and also, like, Alison tells them, if we don't resolve this tonight, I'm going to disappear for good.
Uh-huh.
So, like, what happens?
Right,
what do you do with that?
Exactly.
How do they go check on Fitzs? What's going on with Spencer's family and Melissa?
Right.
And what do they know?
Whispering secrets to Peter.
Is Spencer going to jail tonight?
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, because that's unresolved of whether, like, she, like, killed... I mean...
Nothing was resolved in this episode.
No.
They just added more plot to it.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, and then we shot Ezra.
Right. Which, you know what?
If you're gonna shoot someone...
Hey, it was in the I wished tier, and guess what?
Yeah.
It came true.
You were hopeful for that one.
But
so I was happy for you. I did not give it away, though.
No, you did great. I don't like the context in which he was shot in.
Yeah.
So...
And there's more violence to come.
In the next episode.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I believe.
Got it.
I believe. Unless I'm misremembering. But I'm pretty sure this is when that particular scene happens, because I don't know where else it would fit in the show.
Okay. Yeah, at least the one good thing about doing this on its own was saved my wrist.
Yeah.
Just had to take a lot of notes. But I think in terms of, like, I was thinking about, like, finales. I think this is not, I like this. I had a decent time with this episode, but I think it's maybe my least favorite.
It would be a better mid-season finale than a finale.
Yeah. Because it's mostly just Alison covering what happened to her, which is interesting, but a lot of it we already knew. It's more just clarifying.
Does this show, because the show was basically in 2 cycles and they had, like, a big gap from, like, August to January, give or take, September to January.
Right.
Is that window shorter than it's 3 months on either end, huh? The March to... So it really doesn't matter which way you put, like...
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah.
Because, like, I was thinking, like, oh, like a mid-season finale, because then you get more answers sooner, but that's not true, because their mid-season finale break was 3 months.
Right. And then, yeah, okay, because it ends in August, right? And then they have, I think that one's technically longer, but they slot in a Halloween episode in it. Which, usually doesn't resolve things, but big things happen.
The Halloween episodes are some of the most fun.
Yeah, totally.
They're I remember them all so clearly. Like,
oh, I can see why.
And the train one, absolute fave.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Ghost Train's a good one.
It's so good. And that's when they plant the seed that Ezra's A.
Oh, right, because he shows up.
Mm-hmm. That's when I went, is Ezra A.
Right. Yeah, and in terms of this one, I don't think you get, because it's so heavy on just Alison telling them what happened, you don't get what a lot of the other finales have, where it's like some other, like, exciting plot that's, like, happening to them. Whether they're at the cabin, whether in season 3 or season 2, where they're at the masquerade ball at the beginning, the fight with Ian in the church in season 1, and everything that leads up to that. So it's like, yeah, okay.
It's also interesting because as we don't take the breaks, obviously, like, while we're watching it, so we don't have the pause. But, like, when I was watching it in real time, the first 3 seasons I watched very quickly in a row while on pain medication.
Right.
And then I had to like watch it and wait. I think it was like the second half of 3 was like not out yet. So I was watching it like on demand. This is back when on demand was a thing.
Yep.
And then I had to wait. And then I think, or no, maybe the season 4 started. I don't know, because it would have been in June or July.
Oh yeah, so that's
It was
probably a
summer.
season premiere.
Yeah, so it's either the premiere of season 3 or the premiere of season 4. And then, was watching it then. But then you have to wait, and like when you've watched the first half in a binge style, then
Right.
you're like, where?
God damn it.
It was so much harder to track.
Oh yeah.
Also,
absolutely.
the later episodes of the show are just so much harder to track. Because like, if you're not paying really close attention, you're like, why are all these white boys all the same? You're like,
Fair enough.
okay, you got Noel, you got Jake, you got like Arya's kissed everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And you start going,
Hannah's trying to make up for her lost time.
Hannah's kissing anyone who stands still now.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, and of course where this leads off is just like big old cliffhanger too, and it's Lost will do this too. So when we get to watching that, stay
I don't
tuned.
think I'm gonna be able to do like the notes like you do when we watch Lost to like recap.
Oh,
it.
I'll do that.
Okay, cool. Because I can't do that and watch the show.
Yeah,
I won't be able to.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I planned on doing the notes.
Okay, cool. So I was like, there's no fucking way.
But there's one that I found egregious where it's like you mostly because I think marketing, I'm interested to see how I like it more coming back into it. But like where it does that, like, oh, there's gonna be answers, and it's just like, okay, this person actually didn't know like anything.
Yeah, Pretty Little Liars was like A is for answers, and that was like that's this episode title, right?
Yeah.
But then it was like that was always the thing was like we're gonna give answers, and it's like the only episodes you get answers, kind of. You get Alison's timeline in this one, which is actually helpful.
100%.
You know now who pushed Ian off the clock tower. You know now all of that, and at the beginning of the season, Mona's info dump.
Yes.
Those are like the only episodes where we get like clear information just laid out for us.
Right.
And
Well-
Mona's, we don't even know if it's true.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Mona, when it is revealed that Mona is A, that is actually a big tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And we get, is it Mona actually says explicitly this season that someone stole it from her.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, grain of salt. But
Did someone steal it from her, or was Mona a pawn in someone else's game? Because there was an A going after Alison. Was that always Mona at the beginning?
Right. This episode seems to hint about that because it's like, oh look, Mona's had this like creepy room with like a bunch of Alison's pictures like for a long time. It's like, okay.
So I would like you to hold on to that. Put that really close into your chest and keep it close to your heart. Because as the show goes on, you're gonna start to get what I believe is contrasting information about who originated the game, who was the original A, was Mona calling the shots, was she not?
Right, was she ever? Yeah.
Has Mona always been calling the shots?
Where it's like they keep going back and fleshing out further details in the past that then are like, wait a minute, does that actually work? Yeah.
So I want you to keep your theories on how that all worked, because there's still great debate amongst the community, if you will.
Yeah, guess we'll see where I land on
amongst
it.
the Pretty Little Liars.
That's fair.
Of who's the like
originator.
Yeah, and also like, did Mona take the game then, or was Mona the starter and it was taken from her?
Yeah, did she originally take it from someone else when she started doing stuff?
If Mona was helping Alison get out of town, why is she now? Like, then who's the A that's trying to keep Alison away?
And it's also contrasting with earlier in the season. Well, actually, no, it didn't. Does she ask at season 3 finale, like, is Alison alive? I think she just goes, you saw Alison, right? Yeah, okay, never mind. But, okay.
Just
more things to tossle around in my brain.
Best of luck. I still don't fucking know. There's arguments for all sides.
Well, look forward.
Maybe I'll have a new opinion as I rewatch it in more detail. Because in the past, I've just been like, you watch Pretty Little Liars in the same way you eat a bag of chips. You open it and then the bag's gone.
Yeah, and
You
and
have your
now
fill,
you
and then you get more.
like you've already like gone back through and steps. Like I forget what it was, but you were like, oh, that's set up here.
Uh-huh.
So maybe you'll have more
The
insight.
thing with Ezra too has always been interesting to me, like because it could have been set up from the beginning, but then they didn't, but then they did, and so then I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know what the intentions were, or if it was just always a plot line that they left the door open for.
Yeah, it just seems like, oh, we didn't, because we don't know everything about his past. This fits in nicely, doesn't it?
Mhm.
That was at least my read. But well, should we get to understanding Alison's past?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll try and speed through some of this stuff, but we got a lot, so strap in, people. And also, if you want to skip over the episode recap, I put chapters on all the.
On YouTube.
I put chapters, yeah, and audio too.
Oh,
so.
you can do chapters on audio?
Mhm.
I put on a podcast, I put my phone down, and then it plays in my headphones, and I wonder where I left my phone. So I didn't know there were options. I don't even fast forward through commercials half the time. You know how many HelloFresh ads I've listened to?
God, yeah.
Or the bed. What's the mattress one?
Casper?
Casper, well, that was a big one for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sponsored.
No, we're not. So yeah, you don't have to, you don't have to skip it all.
You can listen to my review of ads instead.
Exactly. This is the important stuff. All right. Episode 95, season 4, episode 24. A is for answers. Spencer stares at a perpetual motion machine. We see the rest of the
Is that what those are called?
I think so.
Oh, I could not remember what those were called. No, I can look it up. You read.
Okay. And it's the thing where it's metal balls attached to a string, and then you pull one back, and then it'll like click into the next, and it'll continue to go back and forth, knocking the balls on the end back and forth, until you stop it. We see the rest of the liars sitting on a couch. Spencer turns around, and we see it is Noel. He is the one that walked through the door. At the end of last episode, he answers the phone and tells them to stay there, and he'll be right back. They wonder if Allie is even coming, or if this is a trap. Emily wonders aloud why Alison would even trust Noel, and Alison then appears in the doorway and says it's because he has secrets too, and the liars turn to see her standing in the doorway. Alison goes one by one and hugs them all, except Spencer. Spencer, you will betray me. And she says, until I know who A is, I can't come home. Hanna tells her they think her mom is A, and Allie isn't surprised and says, it's complicated. He's like, I've never been able to tell you all what I needed to know, what you all needed to know. And Spencer invites her to start at the beginning. Alison says if they can't figure it out tonight, who's A, she'll have to disappear again, and it'll be for good this time.
It's called a Newton's cradle.
Newton's cradle.
Or a Newton's pendulum.
Oh. And it just knocks it back and forth.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense.
Technically, a perpetual motion machine is like one that like it has like a, I don't know how to describe this.
Oh, interesting. It's like a track where all the balls are in, and then you can drop one from a higher height, and then it'll like drop down and like knock into them. So it's like similar, but they're not on strings. It's just like on a they'd roll on a track.
Mm-hmm. And they shoot back through their circle.
Oh, that's really cool. Actually, that might even be cooler. Cece is in the police interrogation room. Apparently, she was in fact staying at that hotel.
Under her own goddamn name.
Could not believe it. Holbrook steps in to question her.
Cece Drake, honey, why?
I know. Cece asks if someone turned her in. I wonder how they found you. Holbrook levels that Wilden was horrible and asks if she killed him in self-defense. She doesn't say, and Holbrook says, we have an eyewitness that can ID you, and we're just waiting on them. And Cece says, if I did do it, I had a good reason. Her bargaining chip is that she knows who killed the girl in Alison's coffin, and that the same person is going after her friend, Alison, and tells Holbrook that Alison is still alive. Alison tells the friends about A threatening her since Halloween, as we've seen before, that going to Hilton Head with Ian would give her a break from A. We then see in Hilton Head, she's in a hotel room with Ian, who then goes to answer the hotel room door. So it's like it's like their bedroom is like separated by like a curtain. And then he like pulls over, and then he opens the door to Melissa, who's like, I know Allie's in there with you, blah, 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 and they get into an argument.
Why didn't Melissa just call the cops?
Seriously.
Allison is like 14, maybe?
So, yeah, right, exactly. So then we wonder what Melissa is doing. So this leaves it open to wonder, is that when Melissa leaves, is she actually made up with Ian, or is she like planning something worse, right? But
sure, one could wonder that. I didn't.
Well, I got to keep all options open. But yeah, yeah, terrible. Ian tells Melissa that Alison means nothing to him, and then in the hotel room, it was behind the closed door. They had like a camera set up like near their bed, and Alison shuts it off, and then uses his laptop and goes to view a folder of videos on her, and then also sees one for Jenna and Toby, which is if you remember, the creepy one where Jenna tries to seduce him. Ian makes up with Melissa, but when he comes back into the room, he finds Alison is gone. Back in the present, Alison says that Jenna was the top of her A suspicion list, but she couldn't get to her because Garrett was always around to do her dirty work. And we have a flashback that Alison did in fact visit Jenna at the hospital and did in fact threaten her with the Toby tape, and says, if I get one more threat and you come back to Rosewood, I'll bury you. As she walks away, she then gets a text from A. This is, bitch can't see you, but I do. Tonight's the night I kill you. So that's why, it could be Mona.
If Mona was the original A and she was writing all the good clues, whoever's A now needed to hire her as a fucking copywriter.
Absolutely.
Whatever you're having Mona do, also have her write the clues and give her creative license, because she was so much better.
So much better.
They're not clues, but threatening notes. I just refer to them as clues, but they're not clues.
They're not clues, just threats. But they're worded so good that you might think it's a clue. It's
like poetry.
It really is.
Better than Ezra's.
Roses are red, violets are blue,
or whatever it was.
Oh, you're right.
B26?
B26, yeah. He wrote Love Shack for Arya.
Wish he had. I should have just done that.
Love Shack, baby. Back in the present, Alison says Jenna would have never sent that text, and I was wrong. Veronica talks to Ella on the phone and says the police are at her house with a search warrant, and like, oh, have you found the girls? Then she gets another call from Ashley asking if she's found Hanna, and no one seems to have seen the girls since the fundraiser. She hangs up and talks to Holbrook and asks what this is. Holbrook's like, we don't think they're guilty of anything, but they may know where a missing person is, and then shows Veronica a picture of the 4 girls seeing Alison in their backyard. This is like after like Ravenswood, and Veronica's like, Alison's alive? And then Melissa just comes in and she's like, what the hell's going on?
What's up, bitches?
She's just like, I'm back. In a flashback.
Weird welcome party, Mom.
Right, exactly. Oh, cool, the police. In a flashback, Alison changes into her signature yellow tank top. Everybody gasps and applauds. She finds a message from A written on her mirror that says, I'm everywhere and soon you'll be nowhere. Kind of makes me think of the Scott Pilgrim line that's intentionally bad. It's just like, you were vegan and now you will be gone.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I've seen it many times. That one's obviously played for laughs, and this one is just kind of like
pretty funny.
It is pretty good. I think it even goes like, that doesn't even rhyme. Back in the present, Alison says the videos were her weapon to fight back, and everyone she suspected was in a video. So in a flashback, Jessica was arguing on the phone and tells Alison she can't go back out tonight. Alison's like, you're just angry about thinking like that Spencer's my bully, and says like, I know things. And then Jessica's like, I know things about that family. Excuse me. I know things about that family, and don't turn your back on the Hastings, and tells Alison to go to her room. She answers another call and asks if there's any news and asks for them to send someone. While her mom's on the phone, Alison takes sleeping pills from her bag. She runs out and meets up with the girls at the barn the night of the pilot. We see she got a call from Toby but ignores it. She puts dust from the sleeping pills in everyone's drinks. When everyone's asleep, Alison gets up and opens the barn door and then asks what Toby wants. Back in the present, the girls are walking down some stairs. They're like entering into a new location away from their like meetup. And Alison says that she did that to cross them off like her list. We see they're in a cafe and Alison supposedly worked there. Toby told Alison that night that he was free at last and that his time away from juvie got him away from Jenna, and he was grateful to Alison. And Allie says that's why I knew he wasn't A. Flashback. Allie gets in a car with a guy, and it turns out to be Fitzs. He's angry she lied to him, and when she tries to leave, he grabs her hand and says, "You're not going anywhere." Back at the police station, Veronica is in questioning. She wants to leave, but Holbrook says there's a sea of reporters out there. You can like either wait here till we like help you clear a path, or like deal with those. She wants to call Peter to see where he is, and he gives her some space in the interrogation room, but then she sees that she has no cell service.
They're obviously jamming the location.
Oh, within the police?
Yeah.
Yeah, there must be like something up with like thick walls, like where you can't like get a signal out.
I assumed they were intentionally jamming because this is like the time of like phone jammers. Do you remember that? That was like a thing, like service jammers. Like teachers would get them and put them, like that was a thing.
What?
They'd like try to like disrupt cell service so kids wouldn't use their phones in class. I don't know if anyone successfully did it,
That's
but
wild.
I know it became a thing that then like parents had to be like, you can't do that
I didn't know about that.
because like it's a danger. But yeah, that was like a thing.
Damn. I completely missed that. That's wild. So I mean, yeah, you're right then. They're obviously like definitely making sure they can't call out. Holbrook walks through the police station, and another officer says they have a warrant to track the girl's car and phones, and that they'll find them in the hour. Holbrook enters another questioning room, and we see they're interviewing Melissa. Melissa says she always cares for her sister, and when she ran into her boyfriend in London, she came home. Holbrook enters another room to question Peter, and he's like, your wife is on the way. Peter says the only reason he is talking is because his daughter's missing, and then what are you trying to do to find her? Noel then gives, back at the cafe, Noel gives Allie airline tickets for a flight in an hour, and then he leaves. Arya asks Alison about Fitzs. Allie says he figured out that I made up that I made everything up, except he believed that I actually was roommates with Cece. Flashback, we see Cece with a guy, at a pub, and then Alison is just sitting on a stool bored. She sees Fitz reading and goes to sit next to him. He's reading Tender is the Night. Neither of us had read this one, but it's essentially plot synopsis is playing with his own life of where in the book it is a psychiatrist who falls in love with his patient, and then flash forward years later in a terrible marriage, he like steps out on his wife with like a young well, it's like a girl. It's like she's like 17, and all that sort of stuff. People often see it as a companion almost to Zelda Fitzgerald's Save Me the Waltz, since it's like a look into their extremely horrible marriage.
I read that. That was really good.
Tender of the Night, at least at the time, supposedly was panned, reviewed negatively, but is now like a classic. But just to give you some context as we think of like all the things that Fitz is doing as he gets into a relationship with an underage girl.
Did you know that using a cell phone jammer is illegal?
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
There are no exemptions for use within businesses, classroom, residence, or vehicle. I'm sure there are for like police interference or whatever, because
right, yeah, because it's the police.
They can get away with.
Who's gonna stop them?
It's covered under the Communications Act of 1934, which prohibits people from willfully or maliciously interfering with the radio communications of any station licensed or authorized.
So because like in the same way that it was,
you can jam certain radio stations to like prevent people from like listening to them or whatever.
Or like jumping in, putting in their own messages and all that sort of stuff. Interesting. Alison Googles the book so she can talk and then starts talking to him about it, and like and she comes up with this big lie which he like catches on to, but he's like likes that he ends up kind of like liking her. Back in the present, Fitz compared Alison to Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's and wanted to write a book about her. She then like talks down about Holly Golightly. I forget, I didn't write down the specific thing. It's like she was like too like didn't know what she wanted or something like that.
About why she was like Holly Golightly?
Or why she didn't like, she's like,
oh no, she said Holly Golightly was a scamming slob who was too lazy to name her own cat.
Right, and then Arya looks at her just practically crying. It's like she didn't name her cat because she didn't think she deserved love.
Yep. But Arya and I feel the same way. I love that movie. I mean, there's some issues with that movie. I like the character Holly Golightly.
One notable one, you're just like, what? This is from a different film.
There's parts of that movie that are not okay, but
the rest of the movie's quite good.
Yeah.
Just
be aware.
But we both talked about it. It's just like, Alison is like
Holly Golightly. She's fanciful and
but I guess it is very
like that.
But you very Holly Golightly of herself to not see herself as Holly Golightly.
Well, exactly. And I mean, Holly sees herself. She's very serious about it.
And then Alison apologizes to Arya for everything. And flashback in the car. Fitz is mad that Alison lied about being in college when she's still in high school. He's mad that he actually liked her and doesn't want to see her get hurt. She kisses him on the cheek and says he's an all right guy and goes to leave. And she's like, see you around. He's like, no, you won't. Before he leaves, Alison says, before you get your story published, you better be able to spell my name right. He then drives away, and she went to the Kissing Rock to see Ian. She tells Ian that that was some goodbye kiss, and Ian's like, huh, well, no hard feelings. Alison's like, I was just waiting for someone better to come along, and you and Melissa deserve each other. She's a bitch. And then Ian gets angry, but then says, you know what? Like, we never had sex, so I never did anything wrong. Allie says, I found your videos. What does NAT stand for? And he's like, you're not going to be able to blackmail me. And then Alison says, this isn't about you. Someone is threatening me, and it stops tonight. Made a copy of every single one of those videos. Ian says, you have no idea how much trouble you'll be in if you show those videos. There's something on there that can bring down everybody, including your family. And Alison calls his bluff. Back in the present, Alison says, I was surprised how much he was freaked out. Tells Arya that Fitzs is looking for her now to win back her affection. It isn't actually about to find her. It's more to win Arya back, and that he found Shauna in Georgia to try and help. Arya asks Alison if she even wants to be saved, and Alison says, I know how I treated people. I went through a lot afterwards. I think I deserve a second chance. In a flashback, Alison goes back to the barn to find Spencer waiting for her. Peter, in questioning, asks for Veronica, and Holbrook asks why he hired a PI. Peter says business related, and Holbrook says it wasn't. It was it wasn't business related. Spencer's name is all over the files. In hindsight, you knew it was the drugs, but it must have been a rough summer, like her erratic behavior and like violent outbursts and things. Cece gets led away by police, and she sees Jessica talking to Holbrook in the station. He's telling her they're working to find her daughter. The cop comes up saying they found the girls. They're in Philly, and he goes away with Holbrook to call Philly PD. Peter comes out and talks to Jessica, saying they're asking questions about Spencer. Do we still have an understanding? Jessica says, I'm worried about my daughter, who might be still alive. Jessica gets led away by police, and Melissa comes up and tells Peter that Toby came to London to tell her what happened with Spencer. And that she tells Peter that her and Veronica have been there for over an hour, and he's like, damn, like, they must have known. They're onto something. I must have missed something. Like, they must know. Like, I can't believe I tried to protect her, and like, oh, that's awful. Melissa asks what she did, and it's like, oh, you must think that Spencer killed that girl. Spencer asks Alison what happened that night, and now he says, I was pushing you all summer on Ian, and we had all these fights, but you bottled it up and then blew your lid that night. In a flashback, Alison is walking away. We've seen this before, and Spencer chases after her and grabs the shovel. Spencer goes to go after her, but she then gets knocked over by Alison super easily, and then her Adderall pops out. And Alison then picks up and looks at it, is like, are you speeding?
10 out of 10.
Uh-huh. Back in the present, Alison says, I saw the pills and knew why you were awake. You were like, it's essentially just like hardwired awake from your uppers. In the flashback, Spencer is walking away, like crying, and Alison catches up to her, and Spencer begs her not to say anything. Alison says, just don't take any more tonight, and don't take them with alcohol. Hey, kids at home, don't cross your prescription drugs with alcohol. And it's like, your parents won't find out. It'll be our secret. Spencer says, thank you. And Alison says, that's what friends are for. She tells Spencer to go back and sleep it off. Spencer walks back with her shovel, like dragging across the ground.
Yeah, she didn't take the shovel from her, which is a little sketch.
It's kind of like Lionel with his blankie, except that she's got a shovel that she just picked up out of a wheelbarrow. Alison then went to go see Byron, and they had their confrontation. She didn't think Byron was but she needed him to know that she had the tapes. Alison went back to the barn, waiting for an A text, but never received any. She went back home after that, thinking she'd won. We then see Jessica looking out the front window like, oh, happy, my daughter's home, but then gets scared as Alison gets hit in the back of the head with a rock. Back in the present, Spencer is worried she killed the other girl, but Allie said, you were asleep in the barn, and Spencer eventually realizes that she actually didn't do anything. They all wonder why Jessica didn't say who hit Alison. In a flashback, Alison is being buried alive in the backyard and opens her eyes to her mom burying her. Alison said she could hear Jessica talking to someone and thought she was dead, just being like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that, like over and over. The friends are all wrecked by this news. Alison says her mom was hysterical. And they wonder who Jessica is covering for. Alison says Mrs. Grunwald did take her to the hospital after pulling her out of the ground. Alison was so scared, though, and ran away. As Alison walks down the road, Mona pulled up in a car asking if she was okay. In a motel room, this is at the Lost Woods Resort. Mona helps her and says, I can't believe someone tried to kill you. She checked them in under Vivian Darkbloom, just like Alison said. And Mona says, if this person who tried to kill you, like, what's stopping them from coming at you again? Maybe pretend you're dead and disappeared. And she calms Alison down and says she'll take care of her. Alison sleeps in her room, and the camera pans over to the adjacent room that we've seen before, and it's the old A layer where Mona is in there with the original setup with like Alison photos and the dollhouse, and combs the doll's hair and then puts it in the dollhouse. The next day, Alison is wearing her Vivian Darkbloom wig, and Mona asks if she got everything she needed. Alison says yes, and thank you for helping me. I don't know how I can repay you. Mona says you can help me by staying safe. Alison tells her to go how to go shop and dress and not be a loser. And Mona says thank you, and then she sees Alison's bracelet on the counter. Alison leaves as Mona waits for her to drive off, and in the present, Alison says Mona played me like a fool. She got exactly what she wanted. At the station, Melissa says Veronica is talking to the best criminal defense lawyer in the state. She tells Peter Spencer didn't kill that girl and whispers something in Peter's ear, which we don't hear, but then his eyes go wide. Holbrook tells Veronica that Philly police is only a few minutes away. The friends try to tell Alison that she can't leave and they'll be able to figure this out together. Alison says, I can't go home until I understand why my mom would do that to me. Alison says, I wanted to stay hidden until I saw what Mona did to you, Hanna, and I couldn't run anymore. We didn't get a flashback to the bell tower, as Alison is the one who comes up and pushes Ian off of it. He wasn't dead, though. She reassures them all, and at the lodge, she only helped Hanna, but the rest were... at the Burning Lodge, at the end of Season 3, only helped Hanna, but the rest were already pulled out, and she didn't see who pulled them out. They hear banging on the... door at the bar, and Emily goes to look. We then cut to police approaching their cars, and approaching their cars, completely surrounded. They wonder, because they see flashlights, if the flashlight is Noel. We then see police are at the warehouse from originally and don't find the girls. And then at the bar, someone breaks the front window glass, and we see a hooded figure with 2 guns. They can't call 911 because Noel has all their phones, which, what? I don't remember this happening.
It didn't happen on screen.
Yeah, okay. The gunman fires shots into the door, breaking the lock. The friends all run to the roof but can't find a way off. The roof door opens and Fitzs steps out. Where the hell was he? The gunman then steps out of another door, and Fitzs says, I know who you are, and the police are on the way. He fights with the gunman, and they eventually get the gun away from him. Hanna then grabs the gun, and we all cheer, and they all yell at the hooded figure to take their mask off. The hooded figure instead runs away and manages to scramble onto the other roof across from them. Hanna says, there's no way that's your mom. It's Alison. Arya goes to talk to Fitzs, and we see that he's been shot. He collapses, and they all yell for help. We see the hooded figure at least a hooded figure, dragging Jessica across the grass lawn and then placed into an empty grave as they shovel dirt onto her. The end.
Okay.
Whew.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Why does Alison only give them one night to figure this all out before she has to disappear again?
I mean, what's better than a countdown?
You know, that's like a story writing tip they tell people. Put a bunch of people at a dinner table and set a bomb underneath it. You figure out a reason to have a ticking time clock. That's a tip they give to people to add more action in their stories.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's find your table, find your bomb.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not actually, but I mean, you can practice it that way.
Right.
What's going to explode and when, and how much time do you have until it does?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that makes sense for action stories.
Just to add more to it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was interesting. I was
no, it totally is, because that's exactly sit him on a couch and then tell him that Alison has to leave.
Except this one doesn't have a good why. We don't know. I mean, we do, but we don't.
Yeah, we can only assume that she is if I only stay in one place for so long is what I would assume, and that you all being here puts me at jeopardy. Mm-hmm. Which it immediately does, because the police track them and goes after him.
Where's Noel with the phones?
I know where I could. It's okay, he hands off the airline tickets and he's just I'll leave you all privacy. Mm-hmm. I don't need to hear the story. I'll step outside. He doesn't do anything in this episode other than be see, Noel is he's all right.
Yeah,
he's
they didn't
helping
even need
Alison.
him there.
No. There's no reason for Noel to be there other than to be oh, see, audience, you can scratch him off the list. But otherwise, he's just steps in and out. And he doesn't even... Where did he go? So did he just leave with all their phones, and then when the gunman comes, he does nothing? Or did he put on a mask and then start shooting at him?
I don't know. Did he put on a mask and start shooting at him?
I don't know, potentially.
Okay.
That's not high on my list, though. I don't think Noel is top of my suspects at that. But it's also funny because it's like we haven't seen Noel in forever. So it's just kind of like, who cares?
Yeah. Follow up. Okay, we have one scene where Cece's talking about, like, they're interviewing
I know.
Cece, and then nothing else?
I know. I was at, like, having Cece back, it's like, yeah. Like, Cece's great. And then just nothing.
Why was she telling Holbrook where Allie was? Like, just, like, immediately becomes a rat?
Her back's against the wall. Well, it puts into question my theory of, she's been helping Alison this whole time, which she could have, but, like, not actually doing it for good reasons.
What are good reasons to help Allie?
That Alison is, like, was scared and is a child and almost got killed. So, like, maybe you can try and help her out if you felt, nice about her, which a lot of people didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, it makes you suspect if Cece is like, okay, like, she's actually not, like, helping her out at all. Is she back on the suspect list of who's going after Alison?
Who was Allie's A? Was it Mona?
I came away from this being like, oh, that's Mona.
Okay.
That they're, like, really trying to hammer that home here.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But I don't think it was the same person that tried to kill Alison.
You don't think Mona tried to kill Alison?
No, but I think you could. I would see.
No, because she wants to play doll with her.
Right. She wants to mess with them.
Yeah.
Like, and then when she sees that opportunity, she's like, "Oh, I can make you disappear, and then I get to be you," which is all what this is originally about. That we kind of get, which is like, I know why they have to bring that up because they already established this and they seem to be going forward with this. But I hate it's like, we're back to, like, crazy Mona. I don't want to remember this.
They're gonna do this to us a couple times.
Yeah, because I can see also why you'd go away from this episode being like, oh, isn't it really suspicious that, like, Mona drives up immediately after she got hit with a head and then it hit with a head, that she, like, left the hospital. So, like, either Mona did something or Mona is just following her, which is fair enough.
Who was Mrs. De Laurentiis on the phone with the night Allie went missing?
Yeah, that one is a weird one because we don't really get the context of, like, why she's on the phone with someone. She's angry and then is like, I need, like, send someone over, essentially. I think in general this episode goes to show that she's been manipulated, Jessica. That I'm much more in the camp of that Jessica now. I feel like that Jessica was being manipulated the whole time and is not actually, like, actively out for all the friends' worst things. At least not in a way that
that you thought. Like, she's not as empowered as you thought.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that we get a clear insight into her and Peter's relationship, which seems much more like the power's in Peter's hands because of the way he's just like, I thought we had an agreement. So I really don't have a good idea of what she was on the phone about. Maybe, like, someone that was trying to look into, like, who was going after her daughter.
Fair enough.
But and also gives us hindsight. It gives us insight into insight. There's better ways of saying that. But where she was just like, oh, we don't get, you have to, like, fight back. That comes from a place of powerlessness.
Why are none of the other parents at the police station?
Because they don't bring anybody else into the police station, huh? It's just the Hastings, which, I do like the police station stuff where it's like, oh, they're just intentionally playing them off each other. I think they assume that, like, Spencer did something because that's what they really heavily hint at with Holbrook. I think at least Holbrook thinks they know something, and so we'll get them to tell something out of everybody. Well, if you were in this town, you would be like, oh, the Hastings must know something. The Hastings did something.
Uh-huh.
This extremely sus family as a whole.
Uh-huh. Speaking of sus, why was Toby in London? Was that what he put in the note to Spencer?
I know. I'm off to London. Goodbye. I need to bring your sister home so she can help.
Yeah, like Melissa.
You don't go to Melissa for help. I don't know. It's an extremely weird thing. They couldn't have had like, hey, Melissa, like your sister's going through some stuff right now. And it, like just to let you know, and she's like, I'd come home. No, we have to send Toby out to London. That's why he's not here. It's so funny. I'm just imagining during that time, there's just like Toby's like on like one of the bus tours of like London, just like having a grand old time. He's like taking
Spice Girls outfit.
right. He's taking pictures with the oh god, Buckingham Palace guards.
Who hit Allie with the rock?
Boy, the $1 million question, isn't it? So, I mean, this is the theory corner adjacent stuff. I think whoever did it is not A, and we have to keep in mind that this is someone that either Jessica would want to keep quiet about or is good enough at like threatening Mrs. De Laurentiis. Probably my best suspect is Cece.
Cece hit Allie with a rock, and Mrs. D wants to protect Cece.
Yeah.
Why would she want to protect Cece?
Oh wait, she hates Cece.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
It was like, okay, tell me more.
No, it was just because Cece was like so close with them.
I was like, keep going.
She was so close with Alison. That's why.
Uh-huh.
I don't.
Because she keeps saying, "What have you done?" to whoever did it.
Exactly. Which I think is getting us to try and point the finger at Jason, but I don't think Jason hit her.
So at this time too, you have to remember that twin theory was a really popular idea,
Right?
because in this season we also had the money was in the picture frame, the behind the frame of the poster of the two twins, the blonde twins on the French poster, and so the twin theory was like, and because that's from the books, like the twin theory was like a big thing right here.
So there's going to be a twin twist. It's Ava, her twin sister.
I don't know if I know what the name, like the actual name in the book is, like what the other one is besides Alison.
Right. Yeah, because it seems like it would be like Jason for her to be like, oh my god, what did you do? I can't believe you did this. And then for like Melissa to also know. I don't think it was Jason. I'm very curious where this ends up.
Well, and we also have to figure out who killed the girl that was buried instead of Allie.
Right.
In Allie's spot.
Yeah. And I think also going back to Cece potentially doing it, because it also, why would Jessica protect her in that sense of like when she picked up Cece from Radley, like going to find like Alison, like that's never corrected. There's like something else going on there. So I'd think it'd potentially be Cece there. I don't know who else like would Mrs. De Laurentiis be like want to stick up for, like unless it was an adult that attacked Alison, which would then potentially be like, did Peter like fucking like brain her with a rock?
Oh my god!
Right, which would be like, why?
I want that to be the plot of the show, though.
Right, but I can't think of like who else like Jessica is even like close with.
Who are Jessica's friends?
Right, and who would she be like, oh, this is like, or amongst like Allie's peer group or Jason's peer group, like who would be even someone that she would hold in high esteem? Because it seems like nobody. So,
okay,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
You're no closer and you're no further, you know?
No, definitely not. Because I didn't even have it on my timeline of like Allie gets hit with rock.
You're like, she gets buried at some point.
Right,
exactly.
She
gets pulled out of the ground. Did Mona do to Hanna what Fitzs has done to Arya?
Yeah, I remember like where you said it, it's like, oh, did Hanna just, or not Hanna?
Did Mona use Hanna in the way that Fitzs uses Arya?
Right. Maybe at first, but then she fell in love.
But so how is she any better than Fitzs?
No.
Not a predator.
I'm ever one to come for Mona's defense. I could see her finding a kinship with Hanna because Hanna was the like not popular one out of the group that got like relentlessly bullied by Alison, and not even in the same way as like Spencer or like Arya. There's like
Arya wasn't really bullied, but like
no,
yeah. Also, when Allie, I thought of this. Sorry, while you were giving the recap, when Allie's like, "Oh, there's footage for everyone to blackmail everyone on Ian's computer." What the fuck do they have on Arya? Because the only thing that she's done was after Allie died, or her dad's affair.
I would think it would be her dad's affair.
But why?
Yeah.
What does that do to her?
She wants to keep her parents together, like
I guess
keep the family together, because she doesn't say anything for an entire year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she doesn't say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
So right, you're like, that's circumstantial at best. Spencer, it could be with Ian. That seems like an easy one.
Oh yeah, the rest of them it's easy, and like Emily and I mean I don't know if that
Emily and Allie maybe.
Yeah, her and Allie and all of that, but. Also, I don't think Allie ever thought for a moment Emily was A.
And then Hanna, right, exactly. Hanna, what would Hannah's be? Kissing Mike, I guess?
Maybe, or, some sort of, like, embarrassing thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, God. But I could see Mona being like, there's a kinship there. You know what I mean? Like, the same way that all the people that have kind of, like, worked together, it made me think a lot of, the Masquerade and how we see like Jenna, Melissa, and Lucas. It's like, oh, they all have a reason to hate Alison. So it's like, this is interesting to have them all brought together.
Anti-Allie club.
Right. And so you could see like, Mona trying to be Alison. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to I'm not close with any of the friends, but here is one that I could be close with. Mm-hmm. And then like actually developing a friendship out of it. So not like, I don't think it's like completely the same thing as like, using it. There is still a using, but like there's a bit more of like I see myself in your shoes. Again, this is all thinking that she acted in a better way.
Yeah, I know you're a diehard Mona stan. Who isn't? But
yeah, who isn't?
What?
But it definitely also seems like Mona could have like also attacked her with the rock.
Yeah. Do you want to save your what does Melissa know for your theory corner?
Yeah, okay. Let's save
that. Who pulled the girls out of the lodge besides Hanna, who was pulled out by Allie?
Yeah, I mean, at one point I would have said Cece because you're thinking blonde, like a blonde girl, like pulling them all out.
But as we know, Pretty Little Liars loves a wig.
Exactly. It's like, who else could it be? And also, it seems like Cece's really turned more in evil in this one, or we're getting more of like side that she could actually be nefarious.
Nefarious.
So, I
don't know how nefarious can someone be who is on the run from the police, but registers her hotel under her own name.
Right. It's like, oh, was she intentionally being caught?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. I didn't either.
I don't remember where that plot line goes at all. I forgot that Cece was in this finale.
Right. Because why would want to see? I don't think that's why would Cece want to be caught when she like killed a police officer. Anyways, but it would be great. I think it'd be very funny if there was a face turn for Melissa, and then Melissa was actually helping them all out of the lodge. We had talked about this before about like the changing viewpoints of like Melissa. Just seems like it seems like, oh, I want to help you, Spencer, and then also meanwhile being extremely selfish.
She's just like really mean.
Yes,
I think like if I was gonna like benefit of the doubt her, I would say Melissa wants to protect her baby sister, but she's not gonna be nice about it.
It's so mean.
And the family that I grew up in, like my extended family, like that's a character you see recurring often in it. And so that to me, I'm like, oh yeah. Like you'd give me the shirt off your back, but you're going to tell me I was stupid for losing mine.
Right.
Like,
you idiot. So I could see that. And it's like, that's why she got close to Garrett. And there's like, you could map back all these things if it does in fact turn out that Melissa is good. Or at least on their side.
She could be the opposite.
Right. She could be A. Melissa A.
Who's chasing the girls with the gun? Ezra knows who it is.
Uh-huh. It's like, I know who you are. Stop and...
Didn't bother to text Arya that he knows who A is.
No. Of course. He wants to help, but like not that bad.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he did. Noel had her phone.
So it was Noel putting on a ski mask and then attacking them. So, let's see.
But why if he's
Cece's-
had access to Allie this whole time?
Right. Why be like, okay, time to turn around? Was Noel the person that flagged down this person to get after him? Is it Jenna? And he's like, because he had the relationship with her, they're still working together, even though he was helping Alison?
I always forget that
What-
he dated Jenna.
Right. Last we saw him, they were dating.
Jenna's dated everyone. She dated Shauna.
Mm-hmm.
She dated Noel.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did she date? Garrett?
Garrett, yeah. All the bad guys.
Yeah.
Maybe if Shauna coming in, guns a-blazing. So... Bam. Yeah, maybe he made the handoff. He made the communication to Jenna. She's here. Come get her.
But he's known where she was for a while now, we assume.
Well, or did she keep him at remove like she did with Shauna? So this is like the night, like this is go time.
Yeah, who would trust Noel more than Shauna?
I know, what the hell? That seems like an extremely bad move. And also it's like because he also has secrets of his own. What are his secrets?
I know. I'm excited to learn what Noel's secrets are.
Okay.
I don't know if we do. I can't remember.
But it's like, again, Noel hasn't been around. So
Noel-
it's like,
okay, so
why do I care?
Noel periodically is just going to pop up.
Mhm.
He's just going to... he's one of those characters that's just going to show up at times, and you're like...
Right. And you want to punch him?
Another character that I feel like it pops up at random, like... But, like... I don't know, like, necessarily, like, the purpose of it sometimes is Lucas.
Yeah, right.
Like, Lucas is just like... You're like, oh, cool, he's there, and he looks stressed.
Yeah,
And he's got a gambling problem.
He's growing facial hair. And he's just like trying to act tough and then, get blows up in his face. I don't know. Lucas could have come in with the guns.
Oh.
Maybe this is as we're kind of highlighting all these things of like, there's so many new questions brought up without any grounding to them. So you're just like, well,
Could be anyone.
It could be anyone, yeah.
Melissa could know who killed, or that Allie's, she could know Allie's alive. She could, that's what she could have been telling him.
Right.
It could have been that she accidentally robbed a convenience store. It could have been.
She's like, I've got a funny joke for you, Peter.
Dad.
Right? Do you want to hear a limerick?
Does Ezra die?
No. Unfortunately. They're plagued by finding out information. It makes me upset.
Brenton saw
So
a spoiler.
this is okay. So where it's like, oh, in this scene there is the part where it's like Arya shouldn't report him because of like what can happen to her, and like that's horrible. This episode completely undercuts that. Because it's like, well, he's so nice, Arya, like he's so nice, and like I understand the part of he didn't, like, Alison lied to him. He didn't know. He got in this relationship and then found he liked her, and but then broke it off that night. I don't know how he had to drive there, but regardless, broke off this thing. Fine, understandable. Completely get that. But then all the actions taken after this, you can't go back from that.
Okay, yeah, that's my big point with Ezra. Like, there is no coming back from I'm stalking you and your friends to write a book, and that's why I made out with you at this bar.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's literally no coming back from that.
No.
And yet they try.
They're already trying right now, and I'm like, you can't do this.
No, I remember watching this and being like, where's Jake? You know what? Jake would have never gotten shot.
Exactly.
Jake would have gotten that gun.
And taken it down. He would have held on to them too.
We would have known who A was if Jake had been around.
Exactly. Jake wouldn't have let this person get away.
This is a Jake Stan account.
Right, exactly. As like A or whoever, the hooded figure, jumps to the other side, Jake would have already leaped over onto the other building and is waiting for them to scramble up.
Yeah. Jake would have never let this happen.
Right. I mean, Fitzs does get away the gun. And when Hanna got the gun, I was like, oh, Hanna's got to shoot him.
Hanna's going to shoot him.
Hanna's going to shoot him.
Hanna did not shoot him.
No. Real upset
Has
about
Hanna
that.
killed anybody? No, right?
No.
Only Emily's killed.
Well, not that we know of.
Well, because I was like, Wilden, who killed Wilden technically? And then I'm like,
Oh, we don't know yet.
we still don't know.
No. There's no concrete details about it.
Oh, I guess you're right, because that's why they want Cece.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm like, I need to cut you off at the pass here before you.
Because I don't remember who killed Wilden.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, was it revealed that it was Ashley, but it was an accident, and that's why she's out of jail? Or like,
no, it's just like, oh, Ashley actually didn't do anything.
yeah,
She just happened to like ruin good shoes in mud.
yeah, and, fight with a cop.
Right.
He's a creep.
Extreme creep. We opened the series on just how much of a creep he was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, fortunately, we're stuck with Fitz.
I
say, let him die.
So Mrs. D is dead.
I know.
Who's burying her?
Exactly the same way as like Alison too.
Is it the same spot?
It kind of. Well, wait, no. There's a. Was there a gazebo there?
Yeah, but they had to pull it
Pull
up.
it out,
Remember
right.
to pull up the body.
So I guess it's like pretty similar. Goddamn. Yeah. Who would then go be? I guess whoever killed Alison, I'd assume, is burying Mrs. De Laurentiis because they probably think that she told the police what had happened that night, and it's like, well, talk shit, you get buried.
And that was the only person who saw who hit Allie over the head.
Mm-hmm. Except Melissa knows.
We don't know what Melissa knows.
Right.
We know that Melissa says, Dad, Spencer didn't kill that girl. And then she whispers to him.
Right.
So maybe it's, I was with Spencer, or I watched the girl sleep, or
I
watched someone else hit the girl.
Right, exactly. Opera glasses, like, but so if we look back, she was also with Cece that night. We had that scene where we don't know, they were just like conversing. That Jason saw. So maybe that exonerates Cece? Because I don't know. It seemed suspicious the way she's like, my friend Alison is still alive. It's like, well, why'd you tell the cops?
I don't know.
I just want more Cece content, honestly. She didn't have enough time to properly menace people on this show.
Well, her time's not over yet, honey. We only got one scene of her this episode. You got to think.
That's true. That's true.
What are your season 5 predictions?
Well, I think we're going to get an episode of Toby Abroad. Door
pilot of Toby in Europe.
Right, exactly.
Just like building houses.
Right, building houses.
He becomes a Thatcher and like thatches roofs and like just like.
They get a lot of mileage out of that because Margaret Thatcher. It's a very good joke.
I only know what a Thatcher is because Zoe Sugg's little brother, this is prime British YouTube in the 2010-ish era, her little brother Joe made a channel. He was in a couple of her videos, and so then he made a channel because people were like, oh my gosh, we love Joe. And his username was Thatcher Joe because he was a Thatcher. Like he literally, and I was like, what the fuck is a Thatcher?
You conservative.
I'm like, can't watch this channel.
Canceled.
Then I'm like, oh, he makes roofs?
Right. Maybe that's what Toby's doing out there. He got a construction gig in London. He's updating Big Ben.
It's called Toby and Benjamin. Spin-off.
I love it.
Little Tobes and Big Ben.
Ooh, yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, put in the comments what you think Toby's spin-off show should be named. As
Toby's summer in the UK.
Yeah, his summer, his London summer, his I don't know. You let us know.
Oh, you know what? He actually finds out that his mom didn't kill herself at all and that she's actually just been living there. So he reconnects with her in the Irish countryside where she's been residing.
I'm pretty sure that's a plot of the book Where'd You Go Bernadette, but I can't remember for sure how it ends. So it could be very wrong.
Well, I mean, I didn't say it was an original idea.
And then it was like, oh, like she was actually here. I think that's how it ends. I don't remember. I did not enjoy the book. It was one of those books I was reading, and then I was like, "Oh, I was gonna finish it."
Read through it.
But I think that's the plot.
Oh, okay.
If you've read it, tell me I'm wrong.
But let's see. Caleb's gonna make his return. He'll be back. Computing things.
Episode 1.
No.
How long until you get Caleb back?
Oh, episode 2, 2 or 3.
What's gonna happen when Caleb comes back?
Oh, Hanna and him are gonna be upset. They're gonna have a tough time, and he's gonna be like, it's complicated. But then they'll eventually get back together.
Literally the only thing Caleb ever says about Ravenswood.
It's complicated.
I don't think he ever explains it when he comes back either. Or they try to do like a half-ass explanation that doesn't make any fucking sense.
He's just probably like, well, it doesn't matter. It's not on anymore.
It really doesn't matter too, because like, to be fair, having watched the show now, I couldn't, if someone was like, what happened in Ravenswood? I'd be like, well,
Yeah,
Miranda
really
died, and then there's Ghost Caleb still there. I don't really know how it ends.
Wildly, now that we've been watching through Vampire Diaries, I'm like, this is remarkably similar
To
Ravenswood. Like something is up here about like ghosts and the other side.
Ghosts on the other side. Yeah, but at least in Vampire Diaries, there's like a continuous plot that has stayed continuous throughout. There's a lot of world building plot holes, but
Good God. But yeah.
But there aren't demonic beings that then just all of a sudden disappear for no reason. They're only in the first couple episodes.
Right, and then they're just gone, and no explanation for switched headstones. And so Caleb will come back. We'll get a Fitzs redemption arc. We'll find out who Allie's killer is, and the protagonist will think it's A, but we'll find out that it's not the case. I don't think the A reveals next season, right? It's season 6. Either way, that's not really a prediction. But we'll also get a Melissa redemption arc.
Yeah, I don't want to explain how you're right and wrong on the A reveal, because I think that will like give you too much of like, you get like partial information at the next season.
Oh yes, I remember you telling me this.
Then you're like, oh, it's this person. And then you're like, who the fuck is that?
I think Alison will be like
very
back...
RAB from the Harry Potter era.
Right. Alison will be brought back into the town, like folded back into the friend group and like being a real person again, not just like on the run and like presumed dead. So I think that'll resolve itself pretty quickly at the start of the season. Boy, but like where's she gonna live? It's like her and Jason living in that house by themselves. And we'll get more suspicion on the Hastings. We'll find out that like the Peter will eventually figure out that his daughter did not kill anyone. We'll find out who killed Sarah Harvey. And maybe her friends will be brought back around.
Is that who you think is in Allie's grave?
That's my best guess for now. It's another one of those things, like, could be anybody.
That's what I was going to ask, who you thought was in Allie's grave next.
Yeah.
So that's why I was
okay.
tying 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. And it'll be... Yeah, I assume the killer is a man and that A is a woman. That's my guess. So we'll find out the guy next season. And who knows, maybe it'll be like some extra twists and turns along the way. We'll find out someone else has a different sort of addiction.
I can't remember who hit Allie in the head with the rock. I have to look this up.
Well, we'll find out together.
It'll probably like come to me like middle of the episode where it's revealed. I'll be like,
But yeah, I think we'll get Fitzs and Melissa redemption arc. And we'll find out that Mona is working on stuff, but is also just in the dark as everybody else.
Vibes.
Yeah.
You want to take us to your theory corner? If there's any theories you haven't covered in that?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm ready. Let us step into... Theory Corner, Season 4 Finale Edition. Welcome to Theory Corner. Hey, step into the interrogation room. You can call your husband. Oh, wait, you can't!
There's an illegal cell phone jammer here.
Exactly.
You know, it's illegal to even own one in the United States.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. But like teachers, there's one in Canada that used one, and they're also illegal there. Who used one in like 2009, and then they were like, "That's illegal," and so then he was like, "Oh shit!" In the U.S., I think you can get fined like $11,000.
Good God.
Yeah, for having one. So like, don't buy one.
Yeah.
Don't use it. Don't have it. Because
Exactly.
it also disrupts cell towers. I think that's how they found out. Like a teacher was using one in the U.S. because Verizon was like, "Hey, our cell towers aren't working right,"
That's
and
so
that one
funny.
impacts people's ability to call emergency services in that area.
Right.
Which is the true danger.
Totally.
So yeah, But the police will use them to prevent people from, and like military and stuff, to prevent people from setting off like remote operated bombs and stuff. Because like
you
jam
won't
the
be able to do
signal.
it.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? That's what I learned in like a 2-second Google while you were doing the recap.
So now when I'm like thinking back on like whenever there is something, it's like they've got a remote to the bomb. It's like, we'll use a jammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that'll come up on the show. So
I think they intentionally jam sometimes certain areas, like if the president will be there, like and stuff like that.
Right. That makes sense. So
anyway, back to Theory Corner.
Um,
That's what you learned about cell phone jamming.
So we talked about it, that I think A and the killer are two different people. I do believe that A took the game from Mona. I don't believe Mona is either. And maybe that's just me thinking. I just don't see a reason why Jessica would want to cover for her. But there is the possibility that whoever did try and kill Alison did a really good job of getting Jessica to cover up. But I do think going back, there's like, I hadn't thought about the possibility, and then you brought up that there's potentially clothes in the bag, that someone is deceiving Jessica. That is like, these can potentially go to Alison, and Jessica is trying to help her daughter. I think the ways that she's acting erratic is because she's a concerned mother that her child is still alive, and someone is potentially feeding her faulty information. Or is still holding that over her of like, you better not say anything, or else like, bad shit will happen. I think it seems that the show is trying to point us toward Jason doing something, because he would, that's a very good reason for her like to cover for her child. But I don't think Jason is quite there, because we already went through that he he could have woken up and like gone after her, but I don't think that's it. And I think he is trying to figure out who in fact did try and kill Alison. There's like probably a good thing going on there. So in terms of who could have like attacked her, it could be like potentially Lucas being like pushed to the edge. It's that similar thing that they do with Mona of like, the nerdy kids like lashing out. They're dangerous, which is annoying. Cece for some reason, which those would clearly fall in the Jessica's being blackmailed bucket. Or like Noel. And I think like her relationship with Peter there was Peter coming and threatening Jessica to like not say anything. And so I think that maybe also throws Cece under suspicion of like Cece being like, I totally saw something. Or she could have told Jessica to be like, you have to say like Spencer came after her, but like that you gave me like hush money. Like your explanation to Peter will be like, I saw your daughter, but. And so that's why they entered this arrangement. That could have been something that Cece set up herself. As something along those lines. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. But for A, I may be moving slightly. Melissa's still on the suspect list, but it seems like that she could potentially, like I said, make that face turn. So she's fallen down. Jenna is still up there because question mark, where is she? She isn't even around here in any of these. If Cece didn't attack Allie with a rock, I can see Cece also being A, to potentially like try and smoke people out. Like I said, it'd be really funny if it turned out to be Mona again. And a dark horse candidate, which I don't think would be happening, is Paige. Where was Paige during all this? Paige could have been the one to attack her, which I really hope they don't take that route. She's been through enough. She has been through enough.
Well, and they don't make her an interesting enough character for you to even root for her as a villain.
No.
I feel really bad for
it would just be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's tough. So yeah, I guess that's kind of like where my head's at. Just because it's like, it could be anything. It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many moving pieces at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming whoever the gun person was the person that tried to kill Alison to begin with.
Oh, okay.
And then they got away. and maybe then went back and tried to kill Jessica. And that A's motives could be potentially linked there of like trying to like get revenge or something on Alison. Because there's still the idea of like NAT Club as like this entity, and that it could have seen like other things that they need to keep hidden that Alison maybe stumbled into, but that maybe Alison didn't know she stumbled into because she didn't actually look at all the videos on there. She just knows that they could be criminal. So we didn't get the backstory on how she picked her storage locker either. Oh well.
I don't know, honey.
Yeah,
probably Yelp reviews.
Oh right.
Was Yelp? Yeah, that would have been a thing then.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I guess that's how during this time, this is how I found like any of our storage places in between apartments. So yeah, that's my best guess. It's a tough case, but
you're not cracking it.
The vote of confidence. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
I don't think you could crack it.
No.
I mean, like, I don't think any normal person could.
You have no faith in it. No. Should be able to pick this up.
Just like the whole thing as a whole. Like, there's no way one's possibly. We get to a point later where things happen that you don't even bat an eye at. That if right now I said them to you, you'd be like,
what the hell are you
that's not
about?
Real.
Well, I look forward to that.
Yes.
But we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thoughts, baby?
Oh. No. I was thinking, I'm like, I like the finales when they're odd, and I like the finales less when they're even for the seasons.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think it probably goes 3, 1, 2, 4.
There you go.
But yeah.
Well,
onward and upward to season 5. And when you're waiting on season 5, you can listen to episodes of this podcast on YouTube at dead_ends. I'm like, where was I going with that?
I was like, that was an odd way to back into it, but I like it.
At dead_ends on YouTube and on Dead Ends on all your audio podcast platforms of choice. You can also send us an email to deadendspcast@gmail.com. Questions, comments, any of that sort of thing. Also, it'd be great to help rate, review us, because we're a small little podcast, and appreciate any help we can get. I was like, do I have other plugs? I think that's it.
No, everything else is in our link trees.
Yeah. So, for now, that we all know the night of what happened that Alison disappeared, which I was mostly on track of, we're still here. Find out everything.
Bye, friends.